Well, we start tonight with the truth, and the truth is painful, as we do every night, but this truth is particularly hard to swallow, and it might make you a little uncomfortable tonight, as often the truth can. The NATO-led war in Ukraine is entering a dark and disturbing phase right now, the phase of desperation. I think that's where we are right now, and the truth is starting to show itself in a number of different ways. It's getting increasingly hard for the Western media to try to hide this. Try as they might, they are absolutely trying to hide this. In fact, today they're trying to show the softer side of the Nazi-led Azov battalion in eastern Ukraine. We're getting played like we all realize we're getting played. Video of Ukrainian soldiers with pets shows their softer side. Do you remember this in Afghanistan when soldiers were leaving and they were like rescuing pets, and we were showing, like, as we're leaving this war-torn country, like, oh, we're rescuing babies and we're rescuing pets.
Oh, you think this is a page out of the old, like, feel-good about
of course.
the conflict?
Caitlin Johnson says this war propaganda campaign keeps finding new and innovative ways to insult our intelligence. But you are smarter than that. You're watching this show, so hopefully you don't fall for this total bullshit. But today we saw intense fighting in the city of Mariupol, where we've learned that Russian forces are calling for the surrender of Ukrainian troops that have been holed up in a factory there. Now, according to Western media, including USA Today, which we mock on this show on a regular basis, but according to the USA Today, Russian forces are giving these Ukrainian forces a chance to surrender. They're saying, you have a time by this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, you must surrender. And they're not doing that. In fact, we're learning that these forces are the Nazi-led Azov battalion, and instead of surrendering, they've decided to use women and children as human shields. These low-life cowards are, in fact, hiding out now in this particular area with women and children as they're holed up in this area.
Let me say that another way, because that sounds a little shocking, the way you just said that. So there is a deadline for these places to be evacuated, and now there are videos surfacing from the Azov Brigade, which is a white supremacy organization that has been embedded inside of the Ukrainian military, and they are releasing their own videos saying, we have no intentions to leave, we're going to stay here in these buildings that have women and children. And so since you've already proven that you will bomb places that are vulnerable with women and children and pregnant ladies, then we will stay here and you'll have to hurt those people too. So let's roll the video of that person saying that.
Я командир полку Азов, підполковник Денис Прокопенко. Звертаюся до світових лідерів. Прямо зараз на заводі «Азовсталь» знаходяться сотні цивільних громадян. Серед них багато дітей різного віку, жінок, літніх людей та сімей захисників Маріуполя, які ховаються від руського міру в підвалах та бомбосховищах. Поряд з українськими військовими, які продовжують боронити місто, вони знайшли єдиний можливий прихисток.
So eagle-eyed observers are noticing that, of course, he's not panning around and showing the women and children that are in this room, keeping it very tight and facing upwards on him, which is a great way to do that, so you can't actually see what's happening in this room. But others are reporting that this is commander of the Azov Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Denis Prokopenko.
Prokopenko is how I would say it.
Which is currently being bombed by Russian planes, as many civilians hiding from the occupiers in this area. So what's interesting is this idea that, oh, these people just decided to hole up with the Azov battalion, and they're friends, they're hanging out. But as Patrick Lancaster has been an amazing reporter on the ground in this area, he's been there for 8 years. It's amazing, because he's there with a hard hat, a military hat. He's on the ground covering the story in eastern Ukraine.
He speaks the local language fluently.
Yeah, he has been for years covering this area, right? And then you have like BBC reporters who show up and they put on a helmet and they stand with like their backs with the camera like right there. They're like, I'm a war correspondent. No. Like Patrick is a war correspondent. Patrick has been covering these atrocities that have been happening in eastern Ukraine for the last 8 years. He says, and according to his reports, he's actually been watching this unfold, seeing women and children being captured by the Azov battalion and being captured against their will for many, many months and being held against their will in these locations. In fact, he has this report, which he just released, talking to a Russian soldier who is trying to evacuate children from this area. Watch. This is Patrick. This is his reporting.
And some soldiers just showed up on the scene. And it seems like they're going to evacuate some people or something like this. We're going to have to see how that goes. We're still just getting information, trying to figure out exactly what's happening here. Thought we wrapped up this boat. Not so much. Можно сказать, что будет сейчас?
So he's saying, can you tell me what's going on now? And he says, we're escorting children away from this area. We're going to take them through a safe corridor to evacuate small children, he says. He goes on to say, can you introduce yourself? Who are you? And he says, I'm engaged in rescuing children from the basement and evacuating them to a safe place. He asks this soldier to identify himself, and he says, are you from the Donbass region? Are you from Russia? He says, I'm Russian. I'm a Russian soldier. Are you DPR? And he says, yes, you see, children are not here of their own free will. They were taken hostage in the area of this hospital, okay, in this territory of this hospital. So these women and children being taken against their will and being used as human shields with this Azov battalion. Now, this is, of course, what the mainstream media doesn't want you to see. This is, of course, what Western social media doesn't want you to see. And if you report on it, you get blocked. Like Patrick has gotten blocked from his videos.
In fact, most of his videos are allowed to still play on YouTube, but they have this warning that the content has been identified as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. Now, who would find this offensive, right, is anyone who does not want you to believe that there are any kind of adverse or unsavory characters inside Ukraine, that the war is black and white, Russians bad, Ukrainians good, right? And again, we've been warning for weeks about this oversimplification, which leads to, you know what, I've decided today, I'm not going to use the word misinformation because it's a smug word, and it also implies that you should control what people see. Information is information. I feel like we should stop using the word disinformation and allow the reader to decide for themselves. It's a stupid word. It's only out there to control what other people say.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's just information. And how about I don't tell you what to think and what is true and what is not? Again, you know.
And why should social media be giving these labels? I mean, why should Twitter be telling us that this is some kind of state-affiliated media? Why should YouTube be downranking videos? Like, did you see the news today about Meghan Markle? Like, there are people that have...
she wore something right out of the runway?
No. That there are people who have critical videos of Meghan Markle on YouTube, and they're being downranked because YouTube doesn't want you talking poorly about Meghan Markle.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I mean,
but the whole British press does that.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you know, they do not want you to speak ill about certain politics that they agree with or disagree with, and that's how they turn it down. It's unbelievable. So, Azov Battalion using women and children as human shields in the steel factory, and this has been going on for months. And we're going to continue to report on this.
But what does seem to be happening right now is all eyes on the Donbass region. So what will happen in Mariupol, we do not know yet. We'll have to watch. But even the Western and the Eastern media are both warning, we do plan to converge on the Donbass region. This is our intent all along, and that's where shit's going to go down.
Well, and by the way, we have reports of this. We covered it here on the show a number of weeks ago. The Azov Battalion, the Nazi Azov Battalion, putting artillery batteries on the top of kindergarten buildings, on the top of children-centered areas. So when this general gets up there and he talks about how their schools, hospitals, and kindergartens have been destroyed. Oh, I wonder why. When you had the very women, the teachers who were Ukrainian women who were teaching in these schools, coming out to these guys saying, why are you putting these batteries on the top of our school? There's an open field over there. Why are you doing this? And they tell them to go away. So you wonder why kindergartens have been hit. Why have kindergartens been hit? Well, if there's a missile battery on the roof of the place, of course it's going to be hit by by Russian forces.
Right. And so I think we should clarify that we are not here to say we think that Russia had any place in Ukraine, that this is a justified war by any means. We are here to not oversimplify the conflict and talk about how it's dangerous for everybody and civilians are at harm for a human-made war. And for us to just choose sides in this time, and just because we think it's the popular thing to do, it makes it dangerous for other people.
And the Western media, like, it's amazing to watch, like, shit liberals like in America who have their, like, their Ukrainian flag and their Twitter handle, and who are totally ignoring or downplaying anything to do with the Azov battalion and what they've actually done to women and children here, and what they've been doing for months, according to the journalists who are on the ground in that region killing civilians. That has absolutely been happening. It's been totally covered over. And this meme hit me today because this is absolutely the case. Liberals in neo-Nazis in the United States, whoa, no way, we don't allow that. Oh, neo-Nazis in Ukraine? Hey, with Geordie LaForge from Star Trek.
I'm not sure that hits it home for me, but okay.
I think it works.
I have to think about that for a while.
Yeah.
Sure.
I absolutely see it. Yeah. So.
Well, meanwhile, every story that I see about, just on Monday in. Was it in Sweden? There was an uprising against Muslim immigrants in Sweden. In the United States now, there is information that arrests on the southern border hit an all-time high in March alone, right? Arresting people for seeking asylum when we're coming up with all kinds of ways to welcome Ukrainians. Just yesterday in the UK, they're saying now asylum seekers will be shipped to Rwanda. So we are repositioning all kinds of brown people to the end of the line so that we can put Ukrainians in the front. And how is that right? How can we live with that, right? So I don't use terms like shit liberals. I think it's just like bandwagon hoppers who maybe can't even point to Ukraine on the map, who say this is a popular thing, I will think what the government wants me to think, while ignoring all other manner of suffering. Now, we just reported on Jerusalem. We've reported on Sweden. We've reported in the newsletter on the southern border, right? We've reported on Ethiopia. All of these things matter, not just thinking what the Western media wants us to think about Ukraine and Ukraine and Russia.
Right.
And I think a point that gets missed, and because I see a lot of it in like the comments and stuff like that, people assume that if you point this stuff out, you are pro-Russia. They're like, oh, why do you love Putin so much? And I think what gets missed is this isn't about Ukraine or Russia. It's about the propaganda and how we're not allowed to see any other side. I mean, that is a major issue.
Right.
And so it's more about like we're being spoon-fed this narrative and we don't want to eat it.
Right. Putin's a horrible human being, right? He poisons his own people, right? He has rolled back democracy in that country. Absolutely the case. He wants a return of basically a Soviet Union. And that's what he wants. He worships Stalin. His father was, or grandfather was Stalin's food taster. Like he was like his chef and food taster. Like that's how much he loves Stalin. So make no mistake about it. Putin is a thug. But what the West and the NATO powers want you to see is that Ukraine is this angel on a hill, and what they're actually doing is funneling billions of dollars in weapons and troops to fight a proxy war and using Ukraine as basically ground zero to expand NATO and continue this Western imperial march. That's what's going on. But you're not allowed to learn that. They want you to see this instead. They want you to see, oh, Ukrainian soldiers playing with puppies. They're just like you and me. They rescue puppies when they see them. But really, that's not actually what's happening. This is a Western media narrative that's getting pumped into your brain. And there are very few journalists, by the way, who have been on the ground covering this for years and who understand what's going on there. These voices have been silenced.